Hey everybody, welcome back to week 3 of art class. I hope you've had an awesome first couple weeks of school so far, and I know that this week is going to be awesome too. For today's art lesson, you are going to need a piece of paper, a pencil, and a black marker. Today's art lesson is what I like to call a practice lesson. It's where we are going to practice a skill that we will need for next week's art lesson. The skill that we're going to practice today is creating bubble letters. I like to start the year off with name art so that I can get to know you a little bit, and to create the name art next week, we're going to need to know how to make bubble letters. Now I know that you've probably made bubble letters before, but I'm going to ask that you try to do it this way that I'm going to teach you, and that you will use this way for your project next week. Go ahead and grab your paper and turn it the long way side to side, which is also called landscape. Grab your pencil too, and the very first step for us to create bubble letters is to write our name like normal. It'll help you a lot if you use all uppercase or all capital letters. I'm going to write Robinson because that's how you know me, as Mrs. Robinson, but feel free to write your first name. Now my letters are not all going to fit on one line. I'm drawing them a little bit bigger so that I can practice. Your letters don't have to fit all in one line straight across. All right, now that you've got your letters drawn in capital letters, nice and spaced out, the next step is to draw an outline around them. Now it would sometimes be easy, like for instance with the eye, to just create a bubble letter by connecting around our eye. But we run into some problems when we get to trickier letters. So when we outline our letters, we're going to basically draw a box around them without touching the original letter. To show you, I'm going to use a different color in a crayon. You do not have to do this, but I'm going to use a crayon to show you how my outline is not going to touch my letter. When I get done, my letter should be floating in the middle of the outline. I'll show you with this R. I'm going to take my crayon and I'm going to outline it without touching the original R. After I get done outlining, I should be able to completely erase that original letter and have a bubble letter or a black letter R left. Now, if you have a letter that has an inside space like an R, an O, or a B, you'll want to make sure that you outline that inside space as well. Go ahead and practice drawing bubble letters on all of your letters. You can use a regular pencil just like this. Great job outlining those letters to create bubble letters. After you are done outlining, you can go ahead and erase the original letter that is inside of your bubble letter. Perfect job. You should be left with your name in bubble letters. Now I know that this can be pretty tricky at first, so what I'd like you to do is flip your paper over and try your last name on the back. Instead of doing another name, I'm going to do some letters that are typically pretty tricky that people ask for help on. I'm going to do an A, a C, an M, and a D. I will do these letters in crayon so that you can see the difference between my original letter in pencil and the bubble letter going on the outside. Here are the A, the C, the M, and the D in bubble letters. Take some time to practice drawing your first name and your last name in bubble letters. If you are still getting the hang of it and need some extra practice, feel free to try some other names or other letters separately. The last thing that I would like us to practice today is tracing our bubble letters in a black marker. Next week, we're going to have to trace all of our letters in a black marker, so we might as well practice right now. Grab your black marker and go directly on top of those pencil lines with your black marker. Make sure that you go nice and slow so that you do not ruin the beautiful artwork you spent so long creating. That is all for today's practice art lesson, friends. Don't be afraid to practice more if you need that practice making bubble letters. Next week, we are going to jump right into our project, so if you're not totally confident in making your bubble letters, make sure that you take this week to practice. If you are in 4th grade, next week you will need a piece of regular paper to do your project. If you are in 5th grade, you are going to need a square piece of paper to do your project. If you have a normal piece of computer paper at home that you usually do your art projects on, you can go ahead and cut it down to be a square. It'll be 8.5 inches by 8.5 inches. That will work perfectly. Otherwise, about 9 inches by 9 inches of a square is what we're going to use in class, so that would work as well. Have a great week, friends, and I will see you next week for art.